Hello Year 4, it's Mrs Evans here again for another maths lesson. I hope you're all well and enjoying our topic on ancient Egypt. You've been sending in some wonderful work on our Year 4 email, so keep that up because you're doing brilliantly. Well done. Okay, so we're going to be looking at two main objectives today. We're going to be looking at understanding and writing hundredths as decimals, and we're going to be looking at dividing a 1 and a 2-digit number by 100. So that's going to develop from last week's learning, and we're going to be thinking about splitting that, possibly if you want to, over more than one session. So it would naturally divide into 2 sessions, or you might want to split it across more if you want to develop a particular part of the lesson. So why are we thinking about these objectives? Well, we use decimals almost every day. So when we measure using weight or length, we might use decimal measurements. But probably the most frequent use of decimals would be the use of money. So we're going to now think about getting ready for today's learning. You're going to need your home learning book and you're going to need a pencil. And ideally, you would need a place value chart and some digit cards. Now, these were sent out on parent mail last week, and hopefully you've been able to keep them for today's learning as well. If you haven't got them, don't worry, you can always make your own place value grid in your book, and you can always cut out some little pieces of paper and make your own digit cards. But I will say you're going to need 2 zeros for today's lesson, and you'll see why as the lesson progresses. So pause the video now and get your things ready, and I'll see you in a moment for our first objective, where we'll understand and write decimals, hundredths as decimals. So see you in a moment.
Here we can see some different ways that hundredths can be written or represented. So first of all, we have a picture or a model, and this shows 25 parts have been coloured in. So that's 25 parts out of 100, 25 hundredths. Then we have 25 hundredths written in words, then as a fraction, and then as a decimal. And we're going to focus on writing hundredths as a decimal in the first part of today's lesson. In last week's learning, we looked at how to represent tenths on a place value grid, and we looked at how to write tenths as a decimal. We're going to develop our learning this week by looking at how we show hundredths on a place value grid and how we write hundredths as a decimal. So here we've got 4 place value counters in the hundredths column. Here we've got 4 hundredths written as a fraction. But I want to think about how to write 4 hundredths as a decimal. Okay, well, I'm going to write a 4 because I've got 4 in the hundredths column. Surely that's how we do it. Oh, actually, that's not right. I need to look back and think about my work that I did last week, because that just shows a whole number. I haven't used my decimal point. I haven't used any zeros as place value holders to show that we haven't got any tenths or any ones. So I'm going to use my digit cards now, and I'm going to put a 0 here to show I don't have any tenths. I'm going to use a 0 and put that here in the ones column to show that we don't have any ones either. So I've got no ones, no tenths, and 4 hundredths. I think that's going to be a lot easier to write now. So I'm going to write a 0 to show I have no ones. I'm going to write my decimal point, which separates my whole numbers from my fractions. I'm going to write a 0 to show I haven't got any tenths. And I'm going to write a 4 to show I've got 4 hundredths. Oh, that's better. That definitely looks like a decimal now. We've got our decimal point here. And so I'm going to think about now how we would say that decimal. So 4 hundredths as a fraction can also be written as 0.04, 4 hundredths. So I'm going to do another my turn now, and here we can see we've got 6 place value counters in the hundredths column. As a fraction, that would say 6 hundredths, but I want to think about how to write it as a decimal. So I think I'm getting the hang of this now. I know I've got to think about my decimal point, And I've got to think about the fact that there aren't any tenths in the tenths column. So I'm going to use my 0-digit card to show there aren't any tenths there. And I need to show that we haven't got any ones as well. So now I can have a go at writing that by using my cards and my decimal point and my place value counters to help me. So I'm going to write a 0 to show we don't have any ones, and a decimal point, and a 0 to show no tenths, and a 6 to show 6 hundredths. 6 hundredths as a fraction can also be written as 0.06. So we're going to do a your turn now. So I'd like you to pause the video, and in your books I'd like you to write this as a decimal. So let's have a look together. So we've got no ones and we've got no tenths. So when we write that, we would need to write 0, a decimal point, a 0, and a 2. 2 hundredths is 0.02. How did you get on with that? Let's try one more. So pause the video and write this as a decimal, and then we'll check our answers together in a moment. So how did you get on with that? Well, we can see we have no ones and we don't have any tenths. So we've used zeros here as a placeholder. So to write that, we would need to write 0, decimal point, 0, and a 7. 7 hundredths is 0.07. How did you get on with that, Year 4? We're going to look at another My Turn now. And in this one, we can see that we have tenths in the tenths column this time. And if we look at this as a fraction, this says 54 hundredths. We can work that out because we have 5 in the tenths column and 4 in the hundredths column. 54 parts out of 100. But how do we write that as a decimal? Well, I'm going to use my 0 card here again to show I have no ones. And now that's going to help me to write that as a decimal. So I have no ones, so I'm going to write a 0 there, and then my decimal point, and I'm going to write a 5 for my tenths column and a 4 for my hundredths column. 54 hundredths can be written as 0.54. Now let's have a look at another one. So here we've got another My Turn, and this time we haven't got a fraction written here at the bottom of the screen now. So I need to really think about the value of these place value counters. So I can see that I have 1/10, and I can see that I have 6 in the hundredths column. So I'm going to use my 0 card here because I don't have any ones. And so now that's going to help me to write my decimal. I've got 0 in my ones. I need my decimal point. I've got 1/10 and I've got 6 in the hundredths. 0.16, which is the same as 16 hundredths. Now let's have a go at your turn and see how you get on with some of these. So I'd like you to pause the video now and have a go at writing this as a decimal. You can see that you've got the fraction here at the bottom of the screen to help you if you need to. Look at the value in the tenths column and the value in the hundredths. And I'll join you in a moment to check your answer. Okay, so how did you get on with that? So here I've used a 0 to show we haven't got any ones. I have 3 in my tenths column and 2 in my hundredths column. So to write that as a decimal, I would need to write 0, decimal point, 3 because I have 3 tenths, and 2 because I have 2 hundredths. 32 hundredths can be written as 0.32. Let's try another one. So pause the video and have a go at this your turn activity. You'll notice there isn't a fraction written at the bottom of the screen this time, so see if you can look carefully at your place value grid to work out the value of this decimal and see if you can write it. And I'll join you in a moment to check your answer. Okay, let's have a look at this together then. So here I've written, put a 0 in my ones column because I don't have any ones. And I can see here I have 8 tenths and 5 hundredths. So to write that, I can write 0, decimal point, an 8 and a 5. 0.85, 85 hundredths. How did you do with that, year 4? So we're going to move on now and we're going to start looking at decimals where we have a value in the ones column which is greater than 0. So here we've got 3 in the ones column and we've got 2 in the tenths and we've got 4 in the hundredths. So using my understanding of my place value and my place value counters, I can see that I've got 3 in the ones. So I'm going to write in a 3 and I'm going to use my decimal point next, and then I'm going to write a 2 because I have 2 tenths, and I'm going to write a 4 because I have 4 hundredths. So that shows 3.24, 3 and 24 hundredths. Let's have a look at another one and then you can have a go at some yourselves. So here we have 4 in the ones column. We don't have any tenths in this one, and we've got 2 in the hundredths column. So I'm going to need to use my 0 card here again to show 0 tenths. The 0 is being used as a placeholder here. So I now can use that information to help me to write my decimal. So I've got 4 ones. I need my decimal point. I need to write a 0 to show we haven't got any tenths. And then I need to write a 2 to show 2 hundredths. 4.02, 4 and 2 hundredths. Let's have a go at some your turns now. So pause the video and have a go at writing this as a decimal, and I'll join you in a moment to check your answer. So how did you get on with that then? So we can see in this one we've got 2 in the ones column, we need a decimal point, we've got 5 tenths, and we've got 3 hundredths, 2.53. Let's try another one. Pause the video and write this as a decimal, and then we'll look together at our answer in a moment. So let's have a look at this together. So we've got 5 ones. We don't have any tenths, so a 0 needs to be used here. And we've got 4 hundredths. So we can write that as 5.04. We're going to have a look at some steps to success now for writing decimals, and then we're going to do some chilly challenges, which we'll look at in a moment.
Right, okay, year 4. So we've just looked at writing hundredths as decimals, and we're going to look at our steps to success now before we look at our chilly challenges. So here I've written 9 hundredths as a fraction, and as a decimal we would write that as 0.09 using those zeros, very importantly as a placeholder. And then here we've got 32 hundredths, 32 out of 100, 32 parts out of 100, which is the same as 0.32. So that's how we would write 32 hundredths as a decimal. So important things to remember. Remember to use your zeros as a placeholder, so that's really important there. So if we didn't use the 0 and the decimal point there, that just would look like 32. So really important to remember that. And where will you write the decimal point? Thinking about writing that decimal when you're doing your chilly challenges, and thinking about including that decimal point and writing it in the right place. Okay, let's go and have a look at our chilly challenges now.
We're looking at a layered approach here, and this is the chilly 1 challenge. So we're all going to start with chilly 1. See if you can complete the calculation. Can you work out what the missing digits are? If you need to go back in the video to have a little look at the work we did when we looked at a fraction and then a decimal, that's great. And when you're ready, pause the video and have a go at completing this. and then we'll move on to the Chili 2 challenge. So this is the Chili 2 challenge here. Which one is the odd one out, and can you explain why? So here we've got an abacus instead of a place value grid, but you can still use your understanding of the place value grid to help you with this. Pause the video, have a go, and then we'll look at the Chili 3 challenge. So the Chili 3 challenge is, can you put the models and images in descending order? So you've got to think about what that word descending means. And remember, in this one, you've got the abacus, which is very similar to the place value grid. And then you've got this model, this picture here of a decimal, which we looked at right at the beginning of the lesson. So have a go at that and pause the video, and we'll look at the answers in just a moment. So this is the Chili 1 answer sheet, and you can see that 79 hundredths is the same as 0.79, so those missing digits there. Now let's look at the Chili 2 answer sheet. So here we can see that A, in fact, is the odd one out, because A shows 1.411 and 4 tenths, whereas B is 17 hundredths and C is 1/10 and 7 hundredths. So A is the odd one out. And with the Chili 3 challenge, this image shows 0.29, this one shows 2.9, this one shows 0.92 and 1.29. So to put them in descending order, remember, descending order means largest to smallest. B would need to go first at 2.9, then D, then C, and then A. Okay, how did you get on with that then, Year 4? What we're going to do now is we're going to move our learning on to looking at using decimals when we are dividing a 1 and 2 digit number by 100. So we're going to have a look at this now. It might be that you want to do this on a different day, but we're going to see if we can use the decimals that we've learned to help us with our answers. So let's have a little look at the next activity. Right, so we've thought about how to write hundredths as decimals. And now we're going to look at division calculations, which will give decimal answers. And we're going to focus on dividing 1 and 2 digit numbers by 100. And we're going to write the answers as decimals. So we're going to have a look at a My Turn part of the lesson now. And we're going to look at 2 divided by 100. Well, last week we thought about dividing by 10. And we knew that if we moved each digit one place to the right, we would find our answer. Each digit would get 10 times smaller. This week we're looking at dividing by 100. And we need to think about how many places we would need to move our digits and in which direction. Well, we know we're going to move to the right, because when we move to the right everything gets smaller. And in fact we're going to move each digit 2 places to the right. And that will create a number that will be 100 times smaller, because we're dividing by 100. So I'm going to use my cards and my place value grid to help me. So because we're thinking about 2 divided by 100, I've got 2 here. It's a 1-digit number. I've put it in the ones. And I want to move that now 2 places to the right. So I'm going to move it 1 place. That's dividing by 10. But I'm going to now move it a second time, so that it becomes 100 times smaller. So now my 2 is in the hundredths column. But now I've got to think about how I'm going to write my answer, because earlier on in the lesson we realised that we couldn't just write a 2, otherwise it would look like a 2 and it wouldn't look any different. So I need to use my zeros now as placeholders. So I'm going to put a 0 here to show we don't have any tenths, and I'm going to put a 0 here to show we don't have any ones. Now I've managed to find my answer to 2 divided by 10, which is 0.02, 2 hundredths. And I've moved each digit 2 places to the right to work out my answer. Let's have a look at another 1-digit number divided by 100. So we're going to have a look at 5 divided by 100. So we now know that this 5 needs to move 2 places to the right to become 100 times smaller. So I'm going to move it once, that's divided by 10, but I'm going to move it again, move it twice, so it's been divided by 100. And now I need to use my zeros as placeholders. That shows no tenths, and that 0 there shows we don't have any ones now. So now that will help me to write my answer. So my answer to 5 divided by 100 is 0.05. 5 hundredths, 0.05. So let's try your turn now. So pause the video and have a go at dividing 4 by 100. Use your place value cards and your place value grid if you need to. And join me in a moment for the answer. Okay, so how did you get on? Let's have a little look. So we know that the 4 needs to move 2 places to the right, and we need to use a 0 here to show we have no tenths, and a 0 here to show we have no ones. So the answer to that calculation is 0.04, 4 hundredths. Should we try another one? So have a go at this one. 1 divided by 100. Pause the video. Join me in a moment for the answer. So how did you get on with that? We know that the 1 moves 2 places to the right, so that then makes 0.01, 1 hundredth. Let's move on to some 2-digit numbers now. We're going to look at dividing a 2-digit number by 100 now. But the same rule applies, that we still move each digit 2 places to the right. Okay, so we're going to look at 54 divided by 100 now. And we're going to move the 4 2 places to the right. And we're going to move the 5 2 places to the right. We know that we need to put a 0 here to show we don't have any ones. So now I've managed to make my answer, which is 0.54. We could say 54 hundredths. So our answer to 54 divided by 100 is 0.54. Let's have a look at another one. So we're going to look at 25 divided by 100. And again, we're going to move each digit 2 places to the right. And we're going to add in a 0 here to show that we don't have any ones in the ones column. So now, using my digit cards, I've been able to make my answer. And my answer to 25 divided by 100 is 0.25. Let's look at a your turn now. So I'd like you to pause the video, use your place value cards and your place value grid to help you if you need to. And remember to follow the rule that each digit needs to move 2 places to the right. Pause the video and join me in a moment to check your answer. Okay, let's have a look at this together then. So 51 divided by 100 is 0.51. So each digit has moved 2 places to the right. Let's try another one. Pause the video. Have a go at dividing 42 divided by 100. Let's have a look together. So 42 divided by 100 is 0.42. Each digit has moved 2 places to the right. So we're going to have a look at our steps to success now, and we're going to have a think about what we needed to do to divide a 1 and a 2-digit number by 100. Then we're going to look at our chilly challenges. So see you in a moment.
Right, so we've used our place value grid and our digit cards to have a look at dividing a 1 and 2-digit number by 100. So here we've divided a 1-digit number by 100, and we can see here the 8 has moved 2 places to the right. And here we've got a 2-digit number, 42 in this case, which we've divided by 100, and our digits again have moved 2 places to the right. So Here we've used our learning from earlier to be able to write hundredths as decimals, and we're going to be developing that now in our chili challenges when we're going to look at dividing some numbers. So when we're dividing a 1 and 2 digit number by 100, or any number in fact by 100, we would move each digit moves 2 places to the right. So last week we looked at dividing by 10, we've moved each digit 1 place to the right. This week, because we're dividing by 100, we're moving each digit 2 places to the right. And remember, when you're writing the decimal answer, use your 0 as a placeholder, and also make sure you include that decimal point. So let's go and have a look at our chili challenges.
So we're going to look at a layered approach now, and this is the Chili 1 challenge. So pause the video, write the calculations down, and you can use your digit cards and place value grid to help you if you need to. Then when you're done, have a little look at the Chili 2 challenge. So the Chili 2 challenge, see if you can use your knowledge of place value to calculate these answers. So last week we looked at how we can move the order of a calculation around. So you might want to use your digit cards and place value grid to help you with this one. And then when you're done, see if you can have a look at the Chili 3 one. So the Chili 3 challenge is this one. 2 children are thinking of a number. Jed says that his number is greater than 0.48 but less than 0.75. Anna's number is between 0.08 and 0.63. So which of these calculations could fit each child's number? So can you work out the answers and then work out which ones will match with each child? Pause the video, have a go, and we'll look at the answers in a moment. Okay, so let's look at the answers for Chili 1. So this is the answer sheet here. Pause the video and mark your work, see how you got on. Chili 2, this is the answer sheet for Chili 2. So pause the video and have a go to see how you got on with your Chili 2 challenge. And Chili 3. So first of all, this is the first part of the answer sheet for Chili 3. So we've had to work out these calculations here. And then we've got to work out which of these calculations could fit each child's number. So let's have a little look. So 17 divided by 100 is 0.17. Well, that will match with Anna's description because this number lies between these two numbers here, 0.08 and 0.63. 65 divided by 100 is 0.65, and that will fit with Jed's description because this number lies between these two here, 0.48 and 0.75. 9 divided by 100 is 0.09, and that will lie between Anna's numbers. And then 54 divided by 100 will actually fit both descriptions. So 0.54 will lie between Jed's numbers and Anna's numbers. How did you do? Did you spot this one where the number belonged to both children? Okay, well done. We're going to have a look now to see how you've all been getting on My Maths and TT Rockstars. So we've come to the part of the lesson where we're going to find out our TT Rockstars champions. And our class winners this week for the most amount of coins earned in the last week, and this is at the time of recording, is Oliver H in 4EP, Matty W in 4M, Ella M in 4B, and Leo T in 4S. Amazing work. Well done, everybody. That's brilliant. And the best class on My Maths this week goes to 4EP. So that's fabulous work, 4EP. Well done. Keep it up.
Okay, Year 4, that's the end of our maths lesson today. So keep working hard, take care, and stay safe.